Hey, everybody. Whoops.
Good,
There we go, Ray. Sorry about that.
good, good, good morning,
Good
good
morning. Good
evening, good
morning.
afternoon, wherever you are. And wow, it's nice to have a topic that has a name to it. I mean, we haven't done many topics with names to it in a while. I remember we seemed like every month we were getting some new topic with a name,
Yeah.
whether it was lazy girl jobs or quiet quitting or whatever,
Yeah.
whatever
Yep.
it was, or
Yeah, now
Yeah.
it's revenge quitting.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
revenge
I
quit.
enjoyed the coffee badging one. That was kind of a fun one.
Revenge quitting. Oh my god.
Yeah. So
So
so this one's come up. I mean, this one was in the work life you know magazine. It was something that HR folks should really be aware of and be conscious of. And kind of what it is basically somebody who abruptly quits, and as they quit, they they delete all of their files, data, projects. They on the way out the door, they basically try to you know leave the bridge on fire, which is kind of like the worst thing you can do. But it's it's becoming more and more popular with certain generations of the workforce.
interesting. I mean, not the move that I would make, but interesting.
Yep.
As we were talking earlier, most companies that I've worked for had backups on your system so that there was a company backup that was backing up everything, and it was it was accessible to the organization after you left. Now I guess this is problematic if you're a smaller company and you're not backing up people's work, for
Hmm.
sure.
Yep.
um
Yeah, and I think that's where it's starting to happen more and more. Uh, the more you've got, IT fully outsourced. A lot of our, clients that we work with, don't have an internal IT organization, so it's all outsourced to a third party. They're not even on site. So I think this is one of those areas where if you're an HR leader, if you're a leader, period, um, and you're starting to see this as a trend, to make sure that you've got the right kind of protections in place for the organization. Because um, if somebody's working on a important project, and it's not backed up, and then all of a sudden you know all the work is deleted on as somebody leaves, uh, you're kind of left holding the bag, which is a huge problem. And especially now with smaller organizations, you don't have that redundancy of multiple people. Um, so I think this is definitely one of those areas of concern.
is a really good employee who got another job,
Mm.
they're not going to be the ones that are going to do this. I mean, they're
Mhm.
going to have another, I mean, at least in my mind, they're going to have another job, they're going to leave and go to it. It seems like this would be something that the less less motivated
Mhm.
or less highly rated employee would do, and say, I'm leaving and taking, and you can't have my work.
Mhm.
So are we seeing actually that good employees are going to another job would actually do this? That seems really odd to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I think if somebody's a good performer, a good employee, you don't have a whole lot of any issues at all with them, and they move jobs, you're not going to see that. I think where if you're dealing with a performance problem, if you're dealing with somebody who, uh, is upset for whatever reason, they didn't get their PTO approved, you know, they're they're not, they're missing deadlines, and they're getting, you know, extra attention from their manager. Those are the types of individuals that probably are more prone to some of this. Uh, and some of it could just be, corporate, corporate decisions that are made. Somebody has been happily, working from home, and all of a sudden now they got to be in the office 4 days a week, and they got to, they went from a 2 minute commute from their bed to their desktop to now a hour and a half commute, and so I think those are the things that can happen, that can cause somebody to go sideways.
We did get a comment. this individual said, Jason, is this really an HR issue? I'd assert this is a leadership issue, which that's what a lot of this is talking about is,
Hmm.
leadership having a pulse on what's going on on their team. Is there is it a toxic environment, or issues being addressed, being resolved, being heard?
I mean, it's a really good question. I'm
Yeah.
glad the
Yeah.
person, I'd use the person's name, but they did it anonymously. But thank you for submitting it. I mean, look, you're always going to have the one off employee who is going to do something like this. But if you have a lot of employees doing something like this, and I don't know what a lot is, but I would say more than one, then yeah, there is a leadership issue. There's like, why are people leaving and they're so angry that they're going to be doing this? What happened at this organization where they're feeling like, not only am I quitting and I don't have to be here anymore, I'm I'm sabotaging on the way out. I mean, there's a level of anger there that doesn't happen um, very often. But I think that you're right with the return to work things. I think potentially with maybe people that they were feeling trapped in the job and they finally get a new job. Yeah, I mean it's definitely a leadership issue about what's going on in your organization that people are being angry like that. And and I think that like an example of this would be um, for instance, Michael Dell's comments yesterday, which I thought were
Hmm.
so stupid. I guess I'm never
Hmm.
working at Dell, but Dell's like, well, I want everybody back in, and we can't have email be the substitute for in-person communication. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he's so out of touch if he really thinks that people are going back into the office of Dell, and they're really walking down the hall talking to each other, communicating. No, they're all emailing. It doesn't matter if they're emailing at their desk at home, or they're emailing within the organization, building a Dell. It just was so out of touch. Those are the kinds of things that if you're an employee, you see that you get angry. And that's just that is right. That's a leadership issue. Like, we
Hmm.
haven't communicated return to work well. We have some outmoded philosophy of what
Hmm.
we're thinking it should be, and it's upsetting to the younger employees. So yeah, I agree. It is definitely a leadership issue. Now, actually, it becomes an HR issue when HR is like, hey, when people say, hey, HR, you got to stop this and see what's happening, and you got to work on
Hmm.
it. So yeah, that's a really
Hmm.
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
question.
Oh, and training
Yeah.
leaders to keep an eye out and the pulse on things, and because ignoring issues is an action.
Hmm.
It's and that's where I think these kind of things can get really bad, is if a leader doesn't know how to handle it, doesn't know how to identify it, or just chooses to ignore it, hoping it'll go away, and then it blows up in their face.
Yeah.
Well,
Good point.
it's like I'm gonna use a really strange analogy, but if you've ever seen the show Bar Rescue, in Bar Rescue, they always go in there, and then Taffer analyzes how much their liquor they're pouring, and they're like, you poured $20,000 worth of liquor, and you charged $2,000 for it. So
Hmm.
you are out $18,000 because management wasn't paying attention to the pours, the size of the pours, all those things.
Hmm.
So the analogy that I'm making is, if you're in management, you've got to know where's people's work. Is it on a shared drive? If it's work that's critical to your project, do you have it? Do you have access to it? You know, how many times in my career has there been a manager that somebody quit, and they're like, oh, okay, where's all your stuff, what are you doing? And the person's like, I don't know, I'm out the door, I left. And like, oh, we don't have access to their things, what are we going to do, where are we going to find it? So once again, management has to be proactive about, if this person has important work, you've got to make sure you know where it is, and you've made the time to make sure that you have it. Just like, hey, don't overpour, and
Hmm.
management's got to be responsible.
Yeah. That's a big one. And I think the other, like you said, I mean, if folks are, storing their work on their laptop and not on a shared drive, that's a huge, red flag. Uh, especially if it's project work, development work. I think that's something that leaders have to get a focus on. I think the other thing too is just you gotta, ask the questions. If you're in a leadership role, talk to your IT department. Are we backing up? If this were to happen, can we get access to the information? So that's one thing to focus on. And then the other thing to focus on too is, if you've got, if you're not spending time with your employees, one-on-ones, working with them on their development, things like that, then you'll never get a sense of, if somebody, is at risk of doing something like this to you. And like you said, Jason, we've all lost people. All of a sudden, well, where's this? Where's that? And now we got to do an IT dive into somebody's laptop that could take weeks to pull files, and which is
Oh
Mhm.
yeah,
yeah,
that's
I mean,
painful.
oh yeah, it's very painful, and it's just terrible waste of time.
I thought that we were going to have that problem when Heather decided to potentially move to Manhattan last week.
Negatory, and I mean, I
Yep.
would get a lot of walking in, that's for sure.
Yeah, get your steps in for sure.
You,
Yeah.
Good
yeah,
sailing. Yeah.
yeah, you definitely enjoyed your trip, but good. And we're glad to have you back, and that you didn't
Yay!
revenge quit on us and move to
Yeah,
Manhattan.
exactly.
I could have still worked for him in Manhattan. I just would have been like, I need a pay increase to afford to
Yeah.
live here.
Yeah, you'd be living in a dumpster in Manhattan, but you could move there.
I was going to upgrade from there and say maybe a cardboard box.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey,
Yeah. Those are called micro suites
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
in Manhattan. But
Just
but
piecing
no,
up
definitely. I mean,
cardboard boxes together.
this is one of those
Yep.
trends that it's out there that it's starting to pick up a bit. So I think from a leadership perspective, you got to be aware of it, and and be sensitive to you know avoiding this happening to you as a leader. The worst thing you want to do
Yes.
is have to go to your executive and go, well, we're going to be a little delayed on that project because you know Joe quit and he deleted all of his work. That's not a good discussion to have to have.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to have that. Just like even a different version of this is, when the person quits, the manager says, "Well, I don't know what they're working on. Let me look at their email." And then you have the email box set up so that you can go in and look at what's coming in.
Hmm.
And then the manager's like, "Oh my god, I never knew they were doing this. Oh my god, I never knew this was happening. Oh my god." So it's a little bit of that too, where be engaged, know what your team's working on,
Hmm.
know that somebody leaves, potentially, what's the critical work they have? Are they a critical point of failure if they're out of there? Just don't take things for granted. We go through our work life and our life sometimes, and we just have blinders on, and we don't think about
Mm-hmm.
things outside of that tunnel vision we have.
Hmm.
So you've got to make sure that you're covered. And look, the bottom line is, the standards of decorum are different today than they were 10, 15, 20 years ago. 10, 15, 20 years ago, we would never have a discussion about people deleting their work because they were upset and leaving.
Hmm.
And nowadays, you just can't take anything for granted because people look at things differently. So
Hmm.
the world's always changing. It's not good or bad. It's just the
Yeah.
way that it is.
Yep. And I think we got a really good topic, for one of our next ones is just around, office etiquette. Folks, folks have been, working from home for the last, 3, 4 years. Now they got to be in the office, 3, 4 days a week. Uh, some of those office etiquette and, you know, and what we used to love, which was the dress code policy, are coming back in vogue. So so yeah, we have to have a discussion about that.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
But
I had a client that when I was in staffing,
hmm
it's a call center, and it's sad that they had to say this, but their rule was make sure the 3 Bs are covered.
I don't want to. I don't. Stop.
Huh?
Please stop. Please stop. No further. I don't even want to go one step further. Thank you.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome. That is awesome.
On that note, well, we look forward to talking to you next week and have some additional fun things to cover.
Sounds great. Everybody have a
All
great
right.
week, and thank you for joining.
All right. I'll talk later. All right.
Take
Bye-bye.
care. Okay, bye
Bye-bye.
bye.